So we were talking about how stress can affect your body.
Yeah, and here to give us some tips on surviving stress, please welcome health expert Sherry Torkos. How you doing,
Thank
Sherry?
you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I love it when you're on the show because we get to talk about such important things, and I think stress is something that obviously, you know, we all have encountered at some time or another in our lives, but it's something that can have a real serious impact on us, isn't it?
It can. Stress has really far-reaching effects on both our physical and our emotional well-being, and today more and more people are complaining about being stressed and stressed out.
And let's just say, I mean, we always say we're stressed, but what is stress?
Well, it's interesting because we throw around the term, but stress is actually how we respond inside to what's going on around us, to the external stimuli. So the external stimuli could be traffic, it could be weather, it could be the economy, things that cause us to have ill feelings. And the term stress was actually coined by a Canadian endocrinologist back in 1936, Dr. Hans Selye. And since that time, we've really learned a lot about how stress impacts us.
Wow. Okay, so do we always know when we're stressed out? Can you always tell? I mean, we think we know, but I mean, when we're really serious, I mean, I was always stressed.
Oh, we know.
Well, there's some obvious things. You know, when some people get stressed, their palms might sweat, they might get a headache, racing heart. Notice people clench their jaw at night and they get tenderness right here. It's called TMJ, and that's from grinding their teeth. Those are some of the obvious things, but then there are some other impacts on health that stress can have that we might not be aware of.
And those are more serious, like
more
diseases.
serious.
These are
That's
very,
right. We're
very
talking
serious.
diseases, and in fact, stress is linked to accelerated aging.
And how do you mean by, what do you mean by aging? Like physical aging?
Everything. Aging outside and aging inside.
Wow.
In fact, researchers have done studies. In one in particular study, they looked at women that were caring for very sick children, children that had cerebral palsy or other serious illnesses, and they found that that accelerated their aging by the equivalent of about 10 years.
Really?
Actually shortens the telomeres on your DNA, which is your part of the DNA that is responsible for aging.
Wow.
Yeah, so aging, but also heart disease, cancer, diabetes, sexual dysfunction, also suppressing your immune system. So you get more colds and flu, more cold sores when you're stressed out. So when you think of it, there are some pretty significant impacts.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And now that we know all that, how,
Yes.
how can we take away the stress?
We're stressed.
Exactly.
Okay.
What can we do? I mean, okay, let's think about food first.
Yes,
what can we
first.
eat?
Well, your diet impacts your ability to deal with stress. So it's important to, you always hear have a breakfast, good breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
That kind of sets the tone for the day, whether you're going to be able to cope with what lies ahead. So low glycemic foods, oatmeal, high fiber whole grains, things that release slowly into sugar. If you eat a lot of high sugar foods that cause your blood sugar to go up and down, you're actually going to have a harder time dealing with stress.
Oh, really?
Greens, leafy greens, a lot of B vitamins, magnesium,
But what is it in the leafy
essential
greens?
fatty acids.
What are you seeing in the leafy
Mostly
greens?
antioxidants, B vitamins, magnesium, fish flaxseed, the essential fatty acids. We've talked before about fats and how good fats are for our skin.
The good fats.
They're also the good fats are
Yeah.
good for our brain and our nervous system as well.
I just had like an omegas.
omega-3s.
What is it? 3, 6, and 9 or something like that?
3,
Is that
6, 9, or you could just get an omega-3
a 3
depending
is
on your
good?
diet.
And now that's good for your skin, but it's good for calming you down as well.
It is. It's not going to work instantly. I mean, there are some other things that we can take supplement-wise that will give you a more dramatic effect right when you're stressed.
Well, let's talk about some
we'll
of those.
talk about one of those. This one here is called L-theanine.
Okay.
And it's actually an amino acid from green tea. And studies have shown that it helps to promote calming and relaxation while not knocking you out. It's not going to make you feel drowsy or groggy. It's non-sedating, but it makes you feel more zen-like. It actually, researchers have found it increases production of alpha waves in the brain, which is associated with more of a meditative type state.
Would that almost be like a St. John's wort, like that type of thing?
Well, St. John's wort is good for more mild to moderate depression. The L-theanine is really good for stress, anxiety. It's also been studied for PMS, sleep disorders, and a lot of the research has been done in Japan and the United States. Some research here in Canada, in fact, out in British Columbia as well.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so it's
really
interesting, and that will act within about 30 minutes. And you take it a couple of times a day when you're stressed out. You can also take it in the evening as well if you're having trouble falling asleep and you need something to relax.
It just calms you right down
Calms
nicely.
you down, yeah. You really do notice it. Now, if you're already calm and zen-like, it's not going to further reduce you.
Put you in a slight coma.
No, you're not going to go to coma.
Wake up, honey, wake up.
And unlike the prescriptions, you know, prescriptions like Valium and Ativan and prescription drugs that are tranquilizers, they're addictive and they're sedating, and they can affect your short-term memory, whereas the L-theanine or the sun-theanine doesn't do that.
Really try to do it in a more natural way.
Yeah,
Unless
exactly.
but if it's something serious, can you go to your doctor and say,
serious,
I'm really not doing well.
Yeah, if you're
this
not
is
coping,
extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're having some serious problems, if you've lost a loved one or there's something really serious going on, you may need a prescription medication short term.
But what about therapy as well? I mean, there's also ways you can go to see somebody.
Huge. Therapy can help. Just talking to someone. In fact, studies have shown that just being able to express yourself, to share time with family and friends, laughing, having, finding the humor in the small things in life, not fixating on negative things or things that you can't change. I mean, there's so many strategies that can really help with stress. Exercise, getting enough sleep at night. In fact, if you don't sleep well at night, that actually affects your ability to deal with stress the next day. It makes you more reactive.
I want to talk a little bit about laughter, because I actually read this in a book about stress, because I read a lot about stress and sleeping and things like that, things to relax you. And I actually read that you can stand in front of the mirror, and you might think yourself insane, but do this, try this, and actually look at the mirror when you're feeling really maxed out, really stressed out, and force yourself to laugh. You'll actually start, and I've tried it. I knew I was insane then. I actually realized, okay, you are clearly insane. But by the end of it, like forcing myself, ha 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 ha, by the end of it, I was actually naturally laughing at myself, because I was a complete idiot.
You feel good.
But I felt great.
Yeah, well, when we laugh, it releases endorphins. They're feel-good, happy hormones, and so that's a good thing. I think too much we're feeling the effects of stress. We get caught up with what's going on around us, and we need to sometimes step back, take a look at what's happening, and really look at ways that we can cope better.
You're a huge fan of yoga.
I am. I love yoga. I love breathing exercises, meditation. In fact, in my encyclopedia, I write a lot about how these strategies can help not just with stress, but improving sleep, overall emotional well-being, and help to prevent some of the age-related diseases.
Wow. And you were also saying as well, B vitamins are really huge as well.
I brought some a Stressplex, and in fact, you see vitamins in the store that are called stress vitamins. They actually contain B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin C. They're the nutrients that our body utilizes when we're stressed. They are necessary to help with the nervous system and our response to stress. So that's why a good stress vitamin is helpful.
Yeah.
Well, Sherry, just having you here, calms me right down. I'm not sweating at all in the palms.
No.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back, everybody.